Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again. Welcome back to the channel. So we are moving right along with the build. If you guys have taken a chance to look at my other videos, please do so. I just finished up the suspension on the front and rears, and we'll be moving on towards the front headlight assembly now. I am going to swap out the headlight for LP6 from Baja Design, along with mounting the turn signals up on the risers underneath the mirror and get a nice slim look. So I'll be taking away the bottom pods, as you will, and swapping those out for a little bit cleaner look. I just like the way those look. A lot more sleek, better design, brighter turn signal as well, and we'll be moving the turn signal from the OEM design. I did go with the prior performance LP6 headlight bracket. From what I've heard, this bracket's a lot more sturdier than some of the other brackets out on the market. They have a really good design, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll be also kind of giving you guys a walkthrough of the front fairing disassembly and how that is taken apart and trimmed to allow for the LP6 headlight to fit in that pocket. So we'll be reviewing that. And then a few other things I'd like to share with you as well. So hold on tight, we'll be right back. All right, so this is the LP6 from Baja Designs. I went with the amber. We can run amber here in the state of Arizona. There is an ordinance that allows for the amber headlight to be ran. I know a lot of states don't allow it, but here in Arizona, it's nice. We can run it. I'm running it on my other bike as well, so I like it, you know, be seen and make sure that they can hear you is kind of the two main focuses on motorcycle riding, right? A lot of people don't see the bike and they don't hear it. So, you know, going with the yellow, I felt, you know, from a safety standpoint, it's the proper way to do it. And also kind of goes with the theme of the bike, the yellow, black, and white. So I have this on my other bike, really happy with it, with the light output. If you haven't taken a look at my previous videos, I do also run the Gorilla cable harness for the LP6. So there's a step-by-step process on that. I'll provide the link up on top for you guys to check that out, how I ran that, because I already pre-visioned it, so it's already installed on the bike since I knew I was going to go with an LP6. So that's one part of it. The other part is the prior performance bracket. Now this bracket, as I mentioned, it's pretty well built. It's stout. It's all laser cut, CNC. I believe CNC cut as well, and then really nice bends on it. So it definitely is a sturdy light. Now the LP6 is a heavier light than most out on the market, so I believe they did take the extra effort to, you know, build a quality bracket. And from what I've heard, you know, it's really well designed. I'm just looking at it's, you know, really good design. So they did a good job on it. I did have to wait quite a bit for the bracket, and that's just because I believe prior was in the midst of moving, so it did take a couple weeks, but I believe these are readily in stock, so it should be only a few days to get those. And then also I'm going with the mirror mount turn signal lights from Custom Dynamics. So these lights I'm also running on my other bike. I just like the way they sit on the bike itself. All aluminum casing, super bright. They run for running lights, they run white, and then turns, obviously they have the built-in orange indicator, so we'll put those on. I will need to run these through the handlebars, so I'll be taking those apart as well. I'm still kind of debating on whether I'm going to video that, because it's going to take a little bit of time and effort to do that. So I changed my mind on it. So you guys might be asking, why didn't I do it at the beginning when I did the risers and the handlebars? I wasn't sure I was going to run that, because I thought I was going to run the S1s on the stock turn signal location, right? Replace these and then run the brackets. But I decided after I did the riser and handlebar installation that I was going to mount the turn signals up here. So we're going to have to, take this apart. I think it might be pretty straightforward to run the wiring through the bars. Hopefully I don't have to pull everything apart. Let's cross our fingers. But yeah, we'll get to it. We'll start off with the headlight assembly, get the fairing off, and then we'll move on forward. Okay, so for the first step is to remove the front windscreen, and we're going to use a Torx 27-bit, I believe. There's 6 screws here that we're going to take off, and then on the inside of the fairing there's also 6 screws, 2 on the top and then 1 on the bottom on the diffuser side. 3 on the left side, 3 on the right side. That pops off. That allows for this whole assembly to move forward. This ring will take off as well. It just twists to the left. These are known, I guess, to come off, so it's going to be nice getting that out of there. So let's take the front windscreen off. And one thing I wanted to ask you guys too, on the front windscreen, Clockworks makes a really nice windscreen, a 6 and 8 inch. Give me guys' feedback on that, if it's worth it. They look super cool. Obviously, they changed the way the wind comes off the windscreen. So what I've been reading is really good feedback on that. They look great as well, and they definitely provide the necessary functionality of it. So just wanted to get your guys' feedback if you guys are running that screen. If so, let me know in the comments if you guys like it, or what size you guys are running too. I think there's a method of actually measuring which screen, depending on your height, the way you're sitting, your handlebar position and so forth, which one will be the best for you. So just wanted to get you guys' feedback on that too. All right, so the windscreen's off. I'm just going to set it aside on my bench here. That actually allows for a lot more access for the handlebars, which I was hoping it would. The other thing I wanted to point out, which I didn't mention before, so this bike does not come with a Rockford Fosgate radio, which sits right in the middle here. There's a separate, I guess, insert that you can replace the Fosgate OEM Harley speaker system with. This one doesn't, but it's the same process as far as the install goes for the bracket from prior. At least his bracket will fit both the non and also bikes with the Rockford Fosgate stereo. So just be cautious of that. Some of the brackets, I think, are not universal in that aspect, so you just want to make sure if you're choosing a bracket to go with the one that, if you have a Fosgate system, it'll work. Here's a little diffuser. These are pretty cool. diffuser. I think there's different color options out in the market that you can go with. So if you want to put some more flair into your bike, there's an option. Now the second step after, actually it'll be the third step after removing the windscreen and the bolts, would be to take the center ring off the headlight, and this just twists over to the left. Let me just show you here. You just twist it to the left. These, I guess, are notorious to falling off, but just twist it counterclockwise to the left and it just slides out. And then we need to remove a couple bolts here before we actually remove the fairing assembly, because the headlight is also holding the fairing to the backside of their inner fairing. And I believe that is a Torx 27 as well. Let's take a look here. Yep. Actually, it's not these bigger bolts. It's not a Torx. It looks like it's a Allen, but the Torx fits, so I'm going to use it. There's 3 other bolts in here that do take the Torx 27. And when you're, working around plastics, just make sure that you're using the right tools, because obviously if you're taking the screws out, it's going to be faster to use a power tool, but then again, you don't want to make sure you don't strip anything, so I should probably put a towel there just in case we have something else fall down on that fender. So that assembly's out. There is a harness here that we need to remove from the headlight assembly. Just make sure that you don't break this tab off, because that needs to be reused. That just pulls out, headlights out. Tuck this back in here. All right, I think we're ready to remove the fairing now. Let's just make sure. All right, perfect. So that's actually pretty straightforward. I'll set this over here as well so it doesn't get scratched up. All right, so we have turn signal harnesses here coming off, which, as I mentioned, I'm going to be taking off. So instead of cutting this, I'm going to be tying it into the existing harness from the blinkers. So we'll probably just run these back into the frame of the bike, just clean this up. So this is all going to be removed. You guys can avoid this step, but I'm going to need to take this all out and then push this back in here, because basically from here you're going to put the existing bracket on. So we're going to remove the old bracket and then put the prior performance back bracket on. So let me just zip these bolts out real quick and take off the old bracket. And then our Torx 27s. And if you have a tool to pop these plastic pieces off, it's a lot easier. Let me grab that. Let me pop this plastic piece off here. The nice thing about these OEM harnesses, they're all plug and play, so you don't have to worry about cutting anything if you're needing to reposition of these lights. If you guys hear any wind noise, I'm sorry. I got a swamp cooler back because it's hot as fuck here again. Alright, so the harness for the turn signals are unplugged. Just going to move these inside here for now, since I will be removing these pods. Let me just take off the old bracket. I think it's a 12 millimeter. No, it's a 13, sorry. Actually, one thing you need to do is remove the insert for the speaker system, and there's tabs in here that just push out. So we'll get this removed. Let me just squeeze those with the want to just take maybe a pair of pliers and they squeeze these metal tabs together. Makes it a little bit easier. There we go. So this is the insert for the Rockford Fosgate speaker system. If you want to take it off, if you want to install the system, that's where it goes, right in this spot here. And then you have access to taking the bracket off. And that's basically it. Then you just start reassembling the bracket. I'll go over that. I'm going to tackle the blinkers now. Just while I have this exposed, it'll be easier to do since I got more access to it. And then we'll be back starting putting everything together. Just wanted to quickly show you guys. So I actually ended up removing the whole fairing, the the inner fairing off the bike. So those 4 screws that I removed from the front, and then there's 1 screw on the left side and 1 on the right, and then the whole assembly just pops off. I just wanted to see how this is all structured. So I might actually video this just in case anybody wants to add their blinkers, flush mount blinkers to the top. This pod, there's only 1 screw on the back here. This just comes out, so this will be all removed. And then on the harness, so this is the existing blinker wires. I'll probably just tuck this in because it looks like there is a plug in here, so it's a 2-plug system, right? It's not continuous from the inner frame. So I'll probably just zip tie this and just stuff it back here nicely. And then this is the OEM plug for the headlight that we're going to actually use. There's another plug that we use for Gorilla cables, along with this is the LP6 plug harness for Gorilla cables that I provisioned earlier. So this is already in place. And then we're going to access this side. I'm actually going to probably remove the tank again just to give me a little bit more room here to work with. That way I can run the wires, more structurally and streamlined inside. One thing I'm going to probably have to do is probably pull those wires, detach them from the harness inside here, and then redo this whole wiring loop on the wires already running. So it's going to take a little bit, but I'll probably video it, maybe just cut a little bit out on editing. This is not doing the whole thing, but give you guys an idea of how this is all structured. So we'll be back in a second. So I went ahead and finished up on the turn signal lights that mount underneath the mirrors. So these are from Custom Dynamics. I had to run the wires through the bars and then redo the looming on this. Fortunately, I ran just a regular 16 gauge wire here when I was able to pull the wires through here, through the handlebar, so it wasn't too bad. It just took about an hour or so. I didn't want to film it because you guys seen it probably before. But yeah, so installed these guys on both sides. So it's a lot cleaner. I removed the pods that typically go down here for the blinkers. Normally, folks that do like an LP6 go with an S1 Baja Design and the pod mount here. But I just wanted a little bit cleaner look. So we'll get you guys a final snapshot of how that will look like. I realized that you need a connector, which I totally forgot about. It's a splitter, so basically once you run the handlebar lights, turn signal lights, you need to splice it off the connector and then back into the OEM harness to allow for all the functionality of the turn signals and the rest of the controls. So I had to order those. Right now I'm going to be running without the front turn signals until I get them, and then I'll just plug and play them. Basically they're behind here on the OEM harness. So ran the wires back there, tucked everything nicely back behind that. Yeah, so like I mentioned, I have them on my other bike. So I really like the way they are. That way you don't have to run those ugly pods. So we'll finish up getting the LP6 installed. The other thing I did was, as I mentioned previously in the video, there was harnesses that ran here for the pods. So I didn't cut anything. I just zip tied everything together. Tuck the, I don't know if we can see it, tuck the OEM plug back here because the LP6 requires an extension to plug in for the OEM that you utilize a high beam, low beam, and also the functionality of the controls. The only thing that basically remains is the LP6 plug, Deutsch connector that plugs into the back of the light. So that's the only thing that is being utilized from an OEM / aftermarket perspective. Everything else gets tucked in here, closed up, and yeah, pretty straightforward. Doesn't take too much time. I think you can do the whole front end within minus, because we still have to cut out the fairing on the front to make the LP6 light fit in the fairing. So that's going to take a little bit of time, but overall this whole thing with removing the front fairing to getting the bracket mounted is pretty quick. I think the other time it's going to take is just drummeling out the OEM fairing housing to allow for the LP6 to fit. So we'll be back here in a second to get this all buttoned up. All right, here's a prior performance LP6 mount. It just clips on here. And the prior performance mount does come with proprietary mounting bolts that we're going to use instead of using the Baja one. So at this time we just plug this mount, or the plug into the back of the headlight. did put a little blue Loctite on these just to make sure they don't back out, because it doesn't look like it has any locking washers. And for adjustment, normally it's 20 feet from like a garage or a wall to adjust the headlight. So we'll more than likely, and it's 20% down, I believe, from the top base. I don't know if I have a 20% angle tool. I'll have to look. If not, we'll run down to the wall this evening and adjust this and then close everything up. Because the only problem is once this is all closed up, you won't be able to adjust it afterwards, it looks like, because this is going to be closed behind the housing, which it is what it is. So I have a crafty idea here. Since I don't want to wait till it's dark and fiddle around with the fairing, I'm just going to adjust it here in the garage, put it in backwards, and then that way I can play with it here. And it's about 20 feet back from where I am. So normally what you want to do to adjust is the beam itself. The beam should be about even with like a standard sedan, right underneath their mirror. That way it's kind of line of sight, so you're not blinding people. Obviously too high is, going to be blinding them. Too low, you're going to be seeing, right in front of your wheel. So I think right about there should be good. That's where the beam is. And you can also adjust it with the high beam too, because it's a little bit better precise since it has all the lights on and the beam pattern is there. So I think right about there is going to be good. All right, I think we're gonna leave it there, tighten it all up, and then we should be good to go. So next step, in order to fit the headlight in, the LP6, we need to trim out the remaining plastic ears, I would say, right? Excess plastic here around this that the stock housing was sitting in. And unfortunately, I kind of know where to trim, right? It's basically where these notches are for the OEM ring, but I don't have a template. So what I'm going to do is just pop the existing headlight back in And it does actually match up quite nicely of where you're going to be trimming. So we'll start there and kind of start trimming it around, and then we can take off enough material so we don't cut too much. And obviously you want to spend as much time on trimming this because this is going to be your final result. So I think that's a good starting point. So we will take a dike and start trimming this. There's a couple different tools you can use. I'm just going to use an air dike and probably one of these guys. I got to figure out which one I want to use to get rid of the material. A round one's always nice, so we'll start with that. Alright, so this is what I'm going to use. We'll get after it. Alright, so we are getting close to fitment. The last kind of couple trimming I want to do with the flapper and the Dremel tool just because it's a little bit more precise. I did take away most of it with the air gun just to kind of break it down because I didn't want to use up the flapper too much. So now this is pretty much fitting in the assembly. So you want to just take your time to you know, make this as nice as possible because you can see the finished product inside the headlight, and me being an OCD, I just want to make sure it looks, you know, halfway decent. So I'm gonna knock out some of this ring a little bit more and clean it up before we do final fitment. And also one thing I wanted to point out, so you saw me, this was turned upside down. It might be easier to do it from the inside just because you can kind of see where the ring starts to end. This way you can have more precise control of the cutting that you want to do. So we're getting closer and closer. I switched over to just a finer sanding tip. The 60, or I was using an 80 grit to take down most of it after the air saw. And then I went to the smaller one for the finish. So we're almost there. All right, so this is the final cutout. I think it turned out pretty good. I probably could have left a little bit more material up here on the top because when I fitted it, there is maybe a 1/4 inch gap, maybe 1/8 inch, but I think it's fine. Obviously, you know, just make sure you take your time to round this out. The only thing I dislike is that these tabs, you could probably cut it out to get these tabs out, but then you're going to have, you know, a bigger hole in here. I will eventually paint the fairing, so maybe I'll talk to the painter, and if he recommends knocking these out before he paints it, then I will. But for now, I'll probably just leave it as it is. I'm not too worried about it. You can, since the light is recessed in here, the light does cover this up a little bit, so you have to actually look inside the housing to see, you know, the imperfections. But overall, I think it turned out good. Just take your time on the finishing of this, just to make sure that you do a, you know, good job. That's the back end of it. So we'll go ahead and get this back on the bike. So that's going to wrap it up for the install of the LP6 and the mirror LED turn signal lights, along with trimming out the fairing. Again, the bracket is from Prior Performance. Go check those guys out. They make a solid product. I'm very happy with it. And this is a recessed one, so the light does sit back. I think it's a lot cleaner look than the ones that you don't trim out, because the LP6 actually sits out, I think, maybe a ½ an inch to an inch outside of the fairing. Actually, let me show you guys this real quick, how this looks like. So super nice and clean. Flush mount. So again, the other brackets that are out on the market, you know, they stick out maybe a little bit this farther out from the fairing, so this gives it a nice clean look. Turn signals, no more turn signals on the pod, those are deleted. So remove those, and then went with the flush mount turn signals. From Custom Dynamic. Yeah, I think it's definitely a lot cleaner without the turn signals. Yeah, let me know what you guys think on the turn signal. If you guys like that cleaner look itself. Obviously, a lot of folks run the deleted, or not the deleted, but the S1 pods, and obviously it looks good. There's a lot of yellow, or if you do white, you know, have some additional light. I think the LP6, you know, it's a super bright light. It's not made for, you know, motorcycles technically. Baja Design actually just released the DOT LP6 version of it. It does not come in amber because that is not legal in most states. Here in Arizona, you can run a headlight that's amber, but the DOT LP6 from Baja Design is white, but you can run a yellow backlight on it. So that is an option if you guys want to run compliant in all states. Again, the light output on this guy is super bright, so, you know, adding the additional S1s on here, I think it just is overkill. I do like the nice, cleaner, sleeker look with moving the turn signals up to the handlebars. I think it gives it a nice, you know, finished look. You know, the Street Bob has them on there. I like the way that turned out, so I just wanted to kind of go with that as well. But let me know what you guys think on this, on the LP6. If you guys done this, I want to hear you guys' comments. If you guys run into any trouble, if you guys like the flush mount design, or if you prefer it to sticking out. Obviously, there's a little bit, you know, intimidation with tackling something like this, because if you mess up this fairing, you know, it's $450, $500 to replace it. So just be cautious and take your time to Dremel out the overall diameter so the LP6 fits in there, and I think you'll be fine. So something you can do in your garage if you're, you know, you know, competent enough to, you know, cut with the Dremel, and you're, you know, competent to work around your bike. I think you can tackle it. So like to hear you guys' feedback on it. Any comments are much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. Check out my other videos, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.